All right, the patch that we have been waiting a long time for. And this one, by the way, is massive. So, my focus of this patch is going to be the Necromancer and Necromancer only. We may go over some of the general things here, but for the most part, it's just going to be the Necromancer. Um, New unique items. We're not even going to go over this. This is an uber unique staff. You're never going to see it anyway. So, yeah. All right. One of the unique items for the Necromancer is going to be the Lidless Wall. This is going to be a shield. It's going to be lucky hit based. When you have an active Bone Storm hitting an enemy outside of Bone Storm, has up to a 5 to 25% chance to spawn an additional Bone Storm at their location. Each of your active sacrifice bonuses increases the chance by 25% and the total number of additional Bone Storms you can have by +1. So the way that I read this, if you have all three of your sacrifice bonuses in the Book of the Dead, that's going to give you a 75% chance right there. And then if you have a max roll on the shield, that's going to give you a 25% chance. So it's going to bring us up to 100, which means there's a 100% chance that if you have a Bone Storm up, you can proc 4 Bone Storms. So you'll have a total of 5. You'll have the one that you have, and then 4 along the way of your Bone Spear. I mean, it sounds cool, but I don't see much use for this. Maybe if you're a hardcore player, you've got the extra armor from the shield, or I don't know. I mean, because the cooldown on Bone Storm is so long as it is, I don't know. I really don't see much overall use for it. But I think that's one that we'll have to just look at and see what other stats come on that shield as to whether it's going to be entirely defensive based or if it may have some offensive stats on it, cooldown reduction, essence reduction, things of that nature, maximum essence, or if it's going to be plus life, plus total armor, things like that. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what else is on that shield to see if it's really usable or if it's just going to be another unique that sits in a bank. So moving down, we've got 7 new legendary aspects. On the Necromancer, the Gore Quills is going to be considered an offensive aspect. Blood Lance will consume blood orbs to also conjure lances from them. Each additional blood lance deals 20 to 50% of normal damages and prioritizes targeting unlanced enemies. So if you're running something like Corpse Tendrils, when you proc the Corpse Tendrils and it drops a couple blood orbs, you're going to get lances from those. This seems pretty cool. I haven't run an actual full-on blood lance build yet, so I don't really know how well that aspect's going to work. Each additional blood lance deals. I mean, it could be all right, I guess. I don't know. Those of you that play Blood Lance, maybe that's a good thing for you. Maybe it's not. I really don't have an answer for that one. Come down some more. We've got our gameplay here. These are just kind of bug fixes. This one right here, it affects a lot of us though. Fix an issue where Bone Spear cast through Chilling Wind from an elite enemy would increase the number of generated echoes for that cast. Yeah, I kind of figured that was a bug. It ended up just like filling your whole screen with explosions, which looked really cool. But yeah. All right, so for items and aspects, this isn't specifically related to the Necromancer, but here we go. Level requirement for sacred items will now cap at level 60, and level requirement for ancestral items will now cap at level 80, which is actually really cool. No more looting something at level 100 and then not being able to give it to your alt. Loading screen updates. So they've changed this, and now instead of just including it into the loading screen, it has been all of my loading screens. Maybe I've just been unfortunate so far. We've added more dynamic loading screens with the release of Season of the Malignant. This includes adding more assets to the loading screen, such as your player character. That one right there, every loading screen I've had so far has been my player character. Maybe I just, bad RNG. I don't know. Gameplay updates. Altar of Lilith unlocks now account wide. Look what happens when we come together and complain about something. They fix it. I'm sure they were so hesitant to do that though, because it's just less time wasted. Overall loot quality has been significantly improved for silent chests. The channel time for leave dungeon ability has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. I don't really understand why they would do that. Again, I feel like everything they've done in this patch change-wise has been to increase the amount of time it takes you to do anything. 2 seconds, okay, yeah, I mean, maybe there's a reason for that, but everything here has been to increase the time it takes you to do anything. World tier bonuses. Not Necro related specifically, but we'll go over them somewhat. World tier 2 is the following bonuses added. Bonus gold increased from 15 to 20%, and monsters now drop 15% more items. That's pretty cool. We like where World tier 2 has landed overall, but are increasing its reward pace to better align with its difficulty. I mean, World tier 2 is literally just there until you can. All right, I don't know. Level scaling inside dungeons and most overworld territories has been adjusted in World Tiers 3 and 4. Monsters will begin to trail behind the player and level after a certain point, up to a maximum of 5 levels behind. This change does not affect world bosses, Legion events, Fields of Hatred, Helltide, or Nightmare dungeons. Cool, you think? Until you realize that XP has been nerfed something serious. I guess this is to make you feel stronger because of how levels scale. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't jumped on any lower level characters yet to see how it feels. The only thing I did was I jumped on my Necro immediately and was immediately disappointed. And the tier 55 Nightmare dungeon I did as I felt weak. World tier 3 example: if the player's level is below 55, the monster's level is 55. If the player's level is 55 to 60, the monster's level is 55. If the player's level is 61, the monster's level is 56. So at that point, it starts being 5 levels behind you. World tier 3's max monster level of 70, and then the same thing in World tier 4. Once you hit level 82, the monster's level will stay 77. Oh no, okay. From this point, the monsters will always be -5. So at 100, it'll be 95. Experience. Reward experience for completing Whispers and World tier 3s and 4 have been significantly increased. This basically says they wanted to match the increase, or they wanted to match the experience from turning in the Whispers to the experience that you get from doing the stuff along the way. We are adjusting bonus experience rewards for killing monsters that are higher level than the player. So prior to season 1, if you were killing a monster that was 2 levels higher than you, you would get a 20% increase to experience, right? Three levels up was the sweet spot at 25. But we're going to stick to 2 levels here, 2 levels higher, plus 20%. After season 1, or starting today going forward, at 2 levels above you, you're only going to get a 3% increase to experience, which means there will be no more power leveling, there will be no more boosting. I mean, there will be, it'll still be out there, but even at 10 levels up, you're only getting a 15% increase in experience, where prior to today, you were getting a 25% at 3 levels up. So leveling up is going to be extremely slow. It's gonna, unless you just farm. I mean, it's gonna take you a long time to level. I don't know why they gave us the experience boost 2 weeks ago. Maybe that was just to keep everybody happy and content and playing until season 1 for their numbers, for their, shareholders or whatever. But this is brutal. This is absolutely brutal. You're going to end up with 1.5 to 3% XP increase majority of the time. All right. And this is kind of where it sums up. For example, you are level 1. Your friends bring you to a world tier 4 and leave you at the entrance of a dungeon. They start killing level 100 monsters. Prior to Season of the Malignant, you got level 100 monster XP times 1 plus 25%. Right? So going forward now, if you're level 1 and your friends bring you to a world tier 4 and they start killing level 100 monsters, those monsters in that dungeon are only going to be level 11 to you, right? So you're not going to get all that XP boost. So no more are you going to just power level to, 50 in an hour. I don't know how long it's going to take going forward, but it is not going to be an hour. Helltide. Helltide monsters are 3 levels higher now instead of the player, or 3 levels higher than the player instead of 2 levels. Gift of Mysteries chest is now 250 cinders instead of 175. And I guess to make up for that, all interactable objects in Helltide zones now have a small chance of dropping cinders. Woo-hoo. All right. So this is kind of where we're all excited to go over. The following balance updates apply to both Seasonal and Eternal Realm. It is a lot. It is a lot. And there's a lot of big nerfs in here. There are some small buffs. I guess, by the time you're done reading this, you'll have to decide if you still want to play Necro going into Season 1. I think I still will. Maybe. I don't know. If I even play Season 1, I'm sure I will. But, man, it felt weak. So, Initiates Decompose Slow increased from 30 to 50%. Paranormal Sever Cast required for Vulnerable reduced from 4 to 3. Enhanced Blood Surge Healing increased from 2.5 to 3% of maximum life. Enhanced Blood Lance Damage reduction for Piercing reduced from 15% to 10%. Bone Prison Initial Essence gained increased from 15 to 25. That's pretty cool. I don't know a lot of people that do run Bone Prison, but I know when you're dropping Bone Prison, it's because you need Essence. Aberrant Iron Main Healing increased from 5 to 7% of maximum life. That's pretty cool. It's a very small buff there, but that should actually be noticeable. Golems move faster and unhindered through enemies when their cooldown is activated. I have no idea how that really works. I don't do anything with minions. They're so broken, it's not even funny. Supreme Blood Wave leaves behind blood orbs earlier in its path. Now that's pretty cool. I wonder if that means instead of dropping a pool of 3 blood orbs along the way, that it'll now drop like four sets of blood orbs, or if it's just going to move that first drop of blood orbs up earlier. Raised Skeleton, Corpse Explosion, and Corpse Tendrils range for auto-targeting corpses on mouse and keyboard increased by 50%. That's pretty cool. It just means that instead of being directly on top of the corpse to explode it or cast tendrils, you can now just be kind of a little bit further off to the side. So if you're not having to be exactly, you can just closer to it. Raised Skeleton, Skeletal Priest, bonus damage increased from 20 to 30%. I have not run Skeletal Priests. I don't know, how good either of these are going to be. Raised Skeleton, Skeletal Priest healing increased from 10 to 15%. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know. I feel in order for the skeletons to be worth running, they've got to really boost up their base stats. Armor, health, damage, all of it's got to be boosted up. All right, on the passives. Man, sad face to the passives. Avulsion bonus damage to vulnerable reduced from 6, 12, and 18 to 5, 10, and 15. So we lost 3% bonus damage there. That is a multiplicative number. That is sad. Transfusion minion healing increased from 15-30-45 to 20-40-60. Again, I don't know. I have no idea about the minions. Drain vitality, lucky hit chance increased from 25 to 30%. Amplified damage increased from 369 to 4812. That is on par with what was everything else. Now that's pretty cool. I did look at amplified damage before and wonder why the 369 was lower than the rest. Let's see, what were the names of the other two? Where am I going? Amplified damage. So Death's Embrace and Death's Reach. I was kind of curious as to so amplified damage increased from 369 to 4812. That is now on par with Death's Embrace and Death's Reach. I wasn't really sure why it was 369 prior, but hey, glad to see that that's been boosted. Necromancer's minions will now automatically resummon after respawning during a world boss fight. I'm assuming if you're running minions and they died during the fight, you had to respawn them on your own. Now they'll resummon themselves? I don't really know. Skeleton Warrior Defenders upgrade Thorns Inherited increased from 40% to 50%. That's cool. That's cool if you run minions. Shadow Skeleton Mage upgrade attacks required for additional Shadow Bolt reduced from 5 to 4. Okay, that's pretty cool too. It's pretty cool too. Bone Skeleton Mage upgrade Fortify amount increased from 11 to 20%. All right. Iron Golem's attack upgrade attacks required for slam attack reduced from 5 to 4. So it looks like they're trying to increase the minions a little bit, but again, I think we have to see a base stat upgrade to their health pool and their armor to see them really be competitive at higher levels. I don't know. I mean, some of y'all out there may run minions and you may be smashing through stuff. I have no idea. I gave up on them. I was kind of sad by it. That was the whole reason I wanted to run the Necro, was for the minions, because I thought that would be cool. But I gave up on those a long time ago. I'll keep my eye out through the season to see if I can find any good minion builds. I will not be trying to focus on creating my own minion build. So maybe I'll have to copy somebody else's minion build later. Paragon Essence Glyphs bonus now affects all damage instead of just core skills, so that's pretty cool. Aspects, this is where people are going to be sad. Splintering aspect bone shard damage splintering aspect bone shard damage bonus reduced from 50 to 100% to 30 to 60%. So Blizzard took a 12 gauge, stuck it to the knees of this aspect, and pulled the trigger. Aspect of Plunging Darkness bonus damage increased from 50 to 100% to 75 to 125. Coldbringer's aspect Blizzard cooldown reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. Aspect of Hungry Blood chance to fire a Blood Lance increased from 10 to 20 to 13 to 23. That's kind of cool. Blood Soaked aspect damage increased from 15 to 2 to 0.24, 0.31. Aspect of Ultimate Shadow damage increased from 0.16 to 22 to 0.43 to 0.48. Alright. Aspect of Grasping Veins critical strike damage bonus reduced from 30 to 60 to 20 to 40. Oh man. Osseous Scale aspect bonus storm damage or bonus storm duration increased from 4 to 8 to 5 to 10 seconds. Aspect of the Damned damage bonus increased from 30 to 40% to 40 to 50%. Bloodbath aspect ammo damage aspect echo damage reduction reduced from 70 to 60 to 60 to 50. Aspect of Reanimation Skeletons damage bonus increased from 20 to 30 to 30 to 40. And then Bloodless Scream essence gained increased from 2 to 5 to 7 to 10. Deathless Visage damage increase from 0.25 to 3.5 to 0.28 to 3.8. I don't know if that's enough, to be honest, but so basically it feels like they're trying to get rid of just the Cast Corpse Tendrils throw bone spear build. Just how they nerfed this so hard. I know it was a really good build. You know, and maybe it was a little bit strong. I don't think this was necessary though. 50 to 100 down to 30 to 60. I don't. That's not necessary. Same with Aspect of Grasping Veins. I don't think that was necessary to drop it that hard. That's brutal. So it almost looks like maybe they're wanting to work on fixing the minions here. I don't know if this is going to be enough to fix them. Maybe when season 1 starts, maybe I will. Maybe I'll look at running a minion build early. You know, they don't seem to really fall off until about level 30 or so, when you start getting more points all the way around. You know, I don't know. We've seen some increase to Blood Lance. Maybe they're trying to push a couple different types of builds. My only thing here is, again, we need the wardrobe. We need to be able to have 3 different preset build types. There's no reason we can't go to our wardrobe and change our build types. If you don't want us doing it mid-Nightmare Dungeon, then lock it. Don't let us change it. You know, changing a piece of gear mid-dungeon resets the key, or I don't know. I don't know, but there's no reason we can't change our gear mid-dungeon. Or, sorry, there's no reason that we can't be able to change our gear sets to try different builds out. I don't know. I'm stuck on that one, but that's just me. Aspects. Aspect of data is speediness maximum. Looks like we've got 4 new aspects here. Aspect of disobedience, maximum stacks reduced from 100 to 60. Unless that's already in the game, I don't know what that is. Maybe they're for different classes. Again, I've only played the Necro. Items, Butcher's Cleaver slow increase from 40 to 75, 61 to 75. Increased bonus to drop ancestral and sacred items in Nightmare Dungeons from 5% to 10%. All right. Okay, so we're going to get more yellows in the dungeons. That's good. Removed a 20% chance to drop an extra equipment item from elite monsters outside of Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. Lame. Increased chance to drop an extra equipment item from elite monsters in Nightmare Dungeons and Helltides by 10%. Nightmare Dungeons now have a 50% chance to drop a second legendary item upon completion. That's pretty cool. Nightmare Dungeons now give 3 rare items upon completion, up from 1. That was pretty cool. I completed the dungeon. It gave me like a total of 4 items. Like you saw the 1, 2, 3, 4 little boxes pop up. So that was neat. Monsters, increased monster HP scaling from 85 to 100% bonus per extra player in a party. Woo! That's gonna be brutal in some cases, I think. Maybe not though. Maybe not. I haven't been in a party to see it yet. Miscellaneous adjusted the scaling of the greed shine to just remove the greed shine. Adjusted the scaling of the greed shine to improve its effectiveness throughout the game. I mean, come on now. Nobody's going to run out of their way to pick up a stack of 3 gold or 1 gold. I guess we'll have to see what it is now. I mean, they would have had to significantly increase that greed shine in order to make it worth picking up. World bosses now drop potions more often. There's no longer a limit to how many materials you can refine into higher materials at once. That's cool. Developers note, many affixes are too efficient and are outshining alternatives. We're looking to refine the outliers, improve the number of meaningful choices on competitive slots, and increase the overall flexibility of items. We know these changes will reduce the total amount of possible power a character can possess, so we'll be monitoring how these changes affect players' ability to conquer expected milestones throughout the season. Blah. No, I mean, I get it. I get it. Some of them were strong. Some of them were really strong. Increasing the availability of affixes below to make them easier to include in different builds. Control impaired duration reduction can now appear on pants. Oh, that's what we need. More crap to show up on the gear. Barrier generation can now appear for all classes. It will also begin dropping later in the game. Lucky hit chance wave of barrier can now appear for all classes, reduced by 12% on helm and 20% when on amulet or offhand. Resistance to all elements can now appear on shields. That's really cool. That's really cool if they would fix resistance. So we'll patch what resistance can show up on, but we're not actually going to fix the stat itself. So even though basically if you're re-rolling your shield, now you have one more item that you have to worry about getting. All right, developers note core stat bonus on weapons has been overperforming, so we're pulling back on this bonus. Strength 50% stronger when on weapons, 25% stronger. Oh yeah, man, they are nerfing. So basically, they're nerfing strength, dexterity, intelligence, and willpower on weapons. Wow. That's brutal. Cooldown reduction affixes often felt mandatory due to their raw power. We imagine cooldown reduction will remain a highly desirable stat, but the penalty for not prioritizing it won't be as harsh. Cooldown reduction reduced by... Wow. Beam skill. Yeah, okay. Well, they're nerfing cooldown reduction. We're seeing critical strike damage and vulnerable damage often viewed as a hard requirement for a build success in Diablo 4. We believe this is a step towards allowing more builds to flourish. Oh, wow. Vulnerable damage reduced by 40%. Crit strike damage reduced by 17%. Lightning crit strike... man. Wow. I think I missed this section when I scrolled through earlier. This is brutal. This is really brutal. Cooldown reduction inherent on offhands reduced by 35%. Crit strike damage reduced by 50%. Oh man. And then vulnerable damage inherent on crossbows reduced by 65%. So developers note damage bonus to crowd control enemies was overperforming relative to the ease of activating it versus stricter crowd control type specific affixes. Damage to crowd control enemies decreased by 30%. Damage to frozen enemies increased by 20%. Some of you sorcerers should be happy about that, I guess. Developers note we've seen that skillful players are frequently slaughtering monsters many levels above their own. We want to support this, but the current situation is beyond what we believe is correct for the long-term health of the game. To chase this goal, we're shifting power to many... offensive affixes from defensive affixes. We know this will make our in-game content more deadly, particularly for those chasing our pinnacle boss, an encounter not meant for the faint of heart. Overcoming the pinnacle boss will take every ounce of grit you can muster and all tools at your disposal. We will continue to evaluate feedback from the community and make changes to our combat mechanics. Wow. So even though let me rephrase that. So even though a lot of people have been saying that there's not enough defensive stats, they're going to shift. To chase this goal, we're shifting power to many offensive affixes from defensive affixes. So in other words, instead of just getting one shot, you know, when you start going into the 70s and 80s, if I go into 80s, as of last night, I was in an 89, and everything in the 89 you have to dodge, would one shot you. Sometimes you may have just a tiny little bitty, just a little bitty sliver of health left. So now instead of worrying about one-shot mechanics in higher end dungeons, you're gonna have to start worrying about them in lower dungeons. Maybe like your mid-tier dungeons, your 50s, 60s, since everything is gonna be more deadly. So your resistances are even more useless, your defensive stats are even more useless. That's my take from this. That's my take from this. So they're getting rid of more defensive affixes, moving them over to offensive. Okay, whatever. Physical damage increased by 25%. Fire damage increased by 20%. Cold damage, lightning damage, poison damage, shadow damage, non-physical, physical over time. Fire damage over time, shadow damage over time increased. So basically, all damage is getting anywhere from a 25% physical damage increased by 25. Physical damage over time increased by 40, like your bleeds. Fire damage over time increased by 40. Shadow damage over time increased by 40. So they're just increasing blood and bone skill damage increased by 25%. So we're just getting a boost increase to base skill damage by 25%. Which really is not that big because that's all additive. This is all additive. Physical damage, bone skill damage. So, for instance, you're getting a 50% increase to your bone spear because it's bone skill and physical. But see, it's additive, and that's really not that big of a boost. But further down here, damage reduction from close enemies is reduced by 20%. Damage reduction from distance reduced by 20. Bleeding, burning, poison, shadow over time. Reduction while fortified. So these are minor. This is 25% is a. Yeah. So we're getting a small buff to damage increased, and a small nerf to damage reduction. I don't think this is the be all end all. Like number wise, I do, however, think this is absolutely the wrong direction to be going. This right here is negated. All of this is negated by everything that we read earlier. This is nothing. So all the nerfs that we saw earlier, I can tell you this much. Whereas before I could go, now I've never completed Lilith, Uber Lilith. I'm just not that good, I guess. You know, I would hit Uber Lilith for 5, 6, 7 million. I was hitting her for 2 million tops today, running the T55. You know, I was doing, when I could stack all my buffs up, I was, you know, hitting mid 1 millions, 1.5. Sometimes I'd see a 2. That could have just been the dungeon, the affixes of the dungeon. You know, I didn't really pay a lot of attention. I just kind of wanted to run and get a feel. So I definitely feel like they nerfed the crap out of our damage. And I don't know. I died. I died a few times in my T55 from taking damage. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to put this. In summary, it's going to take us a whole lot longer to hit level 100. At least the Necromancers are getting nerfed hard. I don't know about the other classes. I'm hesitant to go over the stats for those because I don't really know them. But the Necromancers got nerfed really hard, especially the Bone Spear. Maybe Bloodlance might be a replacement. I don't know. We would need to dig into more aspects, more numbers. But the Bone Spear did get nerfed pretty hard. It feels like we're just going to be weaker all the way around going forward. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see in due time what happens. Anyway, y'all, everybody have a good one. Take care, and we will see you around.